Lasting images from the win over the Charlotte Hornets. A beatdown, by the way, is Quinton Post getting tossed with 25 seconds to go in the game. Just a barrage of Kevin Knox highlights in the second half. And when you're saying those things together, maybe not the Post part, you know it was a good day at Chase Center. Sharing is caring. Everyone gets involved. The key players get some rest. And the Warriors have won 4 in a row. Let's go.
Who cares now? Because I'm here. And I would like to think that I am wanted here.
Most importantly, he a dog.
We got 4 championships.
You are Locked On Warriors.
I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Speculation is just what it is, though.
Your team every day.
What is the good word, everyone? We appreciate you for making Locked On Warriors a part of your busy schedule. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We do have a newsletter, lockedondaily.com, and that free daily newsletter, free, did I mention, will be sent right to your inbox. Ways you can check out the show: YouTube, audio podcasts. Make sure if you are a frequent viewer, it's not just because the algorithm tosses it your way. Help us out and give us that free subscription. Never behind a paywall. We very much enjoy it. My name is Charlie Walter, formerly 95.7 The Game. That's the flagship of the Golden State Warriors. Also covered the team for CBS News, Bay Area, KPIX of the call letters. Joining me on today's show, it's Matt Kolsky, formerly of 95.7 The Game, formerly of KNBR. The hair looks completely different since the last time I saw you, and it's been a minute. That's how long it's been. Since the All-Star game, I have not talked with Kolsky. He will give his thoughts on today's game. We will answer the question that a lot of people have hopped into the comments and said, let's not get ahead of our skis until the Warriors start taking down some serious teams. The Charlotte Hornets, who just set a record for 3 straight games, combined losses, worst team ever, essentially, per the numbers right now, especially without LaMelo Ball. It's not good in Charlotte. It is good in the Bay Area, to say the least, Kolsky. Vibes are flowing. It really feels like the way this season started, where everyone's playing well. The Warriors shoot it well today. Every button that Steve Kerr pushes seems to hit. Not bad at all, man. It's the eye test. It's not about beating Charlotte. It's the way you look doing it. And that wins are very important this time of the year. That's the crucial thing.
All of that. Obviously, you can't afford to cough one up to Charlotte, of all teams.
You got Lakers on in the background, don't you? You're looking at that.
Sorry, in the background. It looked like LeBron James just stormed off the court early, and I don't know. But the reason I have it on, which I can turn it off now, is with the Lakers beating the Mavericks, the Warriors have now officially passed the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA standings. And, I don't expect them to look back.
Warriors are going to be at full strength a lot sooner than the Mavericks are.
Yeah, and you're now a half game off a T-Wolves team that has been anything but spectacular lately. I mean, they did have a spectacular comeback last night, but they haven't been great all year, have especially not been great leading into the All-Star break. So there's no reason. They're a half game back now of the Clippers. Like, there's no reason the Warriors can't secure an actual playoff spot before the end of the year if they take care of their business. And I think what's so encouraging tonight, yeah, obviously Charlotte stinks, but the Warriors were not especially good, at least offensively, and they still absolutely dismantled the Charlotte Hornets.
And they let Charlotte hang around a little bit early, to the point where you're like, we don't want to see one of these games. Quit playing with your food. Just destroy them. And they ended up stepping on the jugular.
Even in the first quarter, they ended up stepping on the jugular. There were a couple of big timeouts, one in that first quarter, one early in the third quarter, when it looked like, are they going to mess around with this thing and let it sit at 10 or 15? And no, they didn't mess around, and I don't believe a single one of the starters got into the game in the fourth quarter. Like you said, the extended Kevin Knox minutes, you love to see it. A little Fitz and Kalena talk show over the course of the fourth quarter, always enjoyable. This is what you want against the Charlotte Hornets, but again, to your point, this was not the Warriors' best effort, and I think it just showed again the dimensions that Jimmy Butler brings to this team. First of all, defensively, this is not a diss to Andrew Wiggins, but they're a much better defensive team with Butler. Are they? Look, point of attack, one-on-one defending, Andrew Wiggins is right up there with just about anybody, right? He's long. He's a great athlete. When he commits defensively, he's really good. But Butler changes the whole floor defensively. I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I got to believe they have considerably more steals per game in the brief Jimmy Butler stint than they had before he got here.
Dude, they forced Charlotte into 24 turnovers. It was when they were at 18 turnovers, the Warriors had scored 30 points off those turnovers. I want to know how many it was in the final. Let's see. I got this. Points off to 37 points off Charlotte Hornets turnovers.
Yeah. And Jimmy Butler not only helps with that, but he also helps you limit your turnovers on the offensive end because he's just very responsible. He's just a very responsible offensive basketball player. And you see, he's not totally comfortable. Look, he sat for a long time, and he's not finishing the way he usually does.
He said his jumper shot right now.
Yeah, but he's not forcing it. And he's more than happy to just be a participant in this offense.
6, 8, and 5 doesn't turn it over in 19 minutes. I mean, it's not a Jimmy Butler 20 night that we've been used to during his now.
No, but he only had to play 19 minutes because they didn't need him. Mm-hmm. I mean, he did not come back in the third quarter when he normally would. And again, none of these guys played in the fourth. The highest starter minutes was Brandin Podziemski at 24-35, and nobody else reached 24 minutes. That is ideal. The more of these games the Warriors can have down the stretch, and honestly, in the next couple of weeks, the better, because this is the opportunity to do it. To have games where not only do you get to rest the guys, but the vibes are just absolutely immaculate. You win by a ton. Like, how could you feel better about yourself than you do after a 30-something point win where you rest your guys?
The key.
And Philly stinks right now. Charlotte
terrible.
Again. Detroit, look, a little better, but not great. Brooklyn on this road trip. Portland.
They're red hot.
I know, but you should still
you already
beat
them.
them.
Yeah, you
right?
should beat them, for sure.
And again, Portland playing much better, but you should still beat them. The New York Knicks, good team, beatable. So, the next huge game on the schedule is March 17th against Denver. And up until then, maybe it's not realistic to say you win all those games, but boy, I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games before you get to Denver. 7-2 does not feel like an insane goal.
No.
And if they can pull that off, I bet they'll be pushing for the 5th seed before this thing's over.
We went from there's a lot of losable games on the schedule pre-Jimmy Butler to there's a lot of winnable games. Like games before against the Nets and the Spurs. I know they had Wemby back then, but a lot of these games against sub-500 teams, you didn't feel nearly as confident. I remember beginning of the season, we were doing shows after the Blazers, after the Jazz, after the Pelicans. It was 20, it was 40, it was 30-point wins consistently. And we're sitting here thinking, all right, this is a different Warriors team than the last few years. They're not going to play around with their food. They're just going to handle business. And the sample size is now 7 games. You take care of a Giannis-less Bucks team with no issues after a shaky first half against the Chicago Bulls. You beat the hell out of them. Take care of business against the Mavericks the second time you play them. Aside from the one time against Dallas without Anthony Davis, it's been back to the beginning of the year where the Warriors are just not playing with their food whatsoever. They are demolishing the other team, giving their players rest, and getting to see what players like Kevin Knox and, Yuri Collins and Pat Spencer, with these guys are all made of. Even Jackson Rowe scoring 6 points in the game today. The Warriors, this is impressive. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 players scored in the game today. It's February 25th. The Warriors just had 13 players score. Yuri Collins did not. But the numbers look as such. Payton had 14. Hield had 16, 12 for Kevin Knox, 10 for Podziemski, 13 for Moody, Steph Curry with 15, Draymond Green with 15. So it's Hield who leads the way with 16. But Draymond Green, the most impressive player on the floor tonight, in my opinion. You can give your most impressive player. That is coming up on Locked On Warriors.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at, give me 2 seconds. Do you have any jokes for the people, Kolsky?
Oh man, none that are appropriate for respectable place like Locked On Warriors.
Good, because we don't need you to tell any of them. All we need to tell you is with Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. Not only that, Robinhood Gold gives you the privileges of the very privileged, and it's no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing does involve risk. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
Dogs, man. Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, they would consider each other the same thing in terms of the way that they play on the basketball floor. I thought Draymond set the tone very early. We didn't see much of him, didn't need to see much of him in the second half, but 15 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. That is stuff in the stat sheet. Overall, went 1 of 5 from 3 and 6 of 12 from the floor. As I mentioned, Draymond Green, my player of the game, just how he affected it and the way that he's telepathic with Jimmy Butler, man. They play excellent together. Anyone different for you? Are you going to go with the stock answer that is Draymond, or what you thinking?
I like that answer. I mean, he probably is the player of the game, but I'm gonna call out Gary Payton II tonight, because not only did he knock down 2 for 2 on threes? The 3-pointers back for Gary, which is very exciting. I mean, look, he's never going to be a guy that's playing 30 minutes a game, but if he's hitting threes, you can afford to play him 15 or 20, which can really help your defense. So but man, he had 2 or 3, 4 assists total. A couple of them were absolute Sports Center highlight top 10 assists. Like, there was a spinning one where he hit a 3-point shooter in the corner. Gary had it all working tonight. And, boy, Buddy Hield just had to go and take Draymond's scoring lead away. I was going to say, we got to start checking the history for when's the last time Draymond led the team in scoring. But Buddy Hield just had to hit a couple threes late and ruin it.
Can I give you the comment of the day?
What's that?
Someone said, what is on Kolsky's head? And he followed up with, did he go to a 76ers game?
No, you know where I did go? Not to suggest that I wouldn't have done this with my head anyway, but I did go to Unicorn World this past weekend. I have a 3-year-old daughter and niece who so if you see any glitter in the hair, that's from Unicorn World. I did not do that myself.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Warriors odds are up to 7th to win the NBA championship.
I wanted to talk to you about this, Chuck, and I should have said so ahead of time. I've got them top 5 to win the NBA championship.
I don't see why not, man. I don't see why not. And here's the thing.
They're probably 5th.
Spot that we talked about. If they catch the Clippers in the next week or even few days and they are in that 6th seed, then we start talking about the 5, man. Houston Rockets are reeling right now. And then if you hit the 5, who's to say you're not 3 games back of the 2? I mean, let's take it one thing at a time. Let's start talking 6 seed. But here's the question I asked to weave this in, because there are so many people in the comments saying, you guys have done this all year. You get ahead of your skis. They've beaten bad teams, as we've mentioned. How much should we take away just from the eye test alone? And the fact that when you go up and down this roster, like, they have good players, man. When Moody's playing like this, now 10-0 with him in the starting lineup, he's averaging 13 as a starter, has 13 again today, 4 of 5 from the floor, 3 of 3 from 3. Podziemski's been excellent, 10, 5, and 2 today in a game that, he didn't need to be that assertive. Now you got Kevin Knox as someone that who knows what he can be, but he's a wild card coming in off the bench if he continues to play well. Post has been playing good. Buddy Hield seems to be better on a role where he does not dribble and just shoots the basketball. Payton is Payton. Looney is Looney. And then the starting five with, Draymond, Butler, Curry, soon to be Kuminga, and then pick Podziemski, Moody, or Kuminga coming off the bench, man. Like, this team, they can match up with a lot of other teams when healthy. A lot of other teams.
Yeah, I think you can slot Kuminga into the Moody spot in that starting lineup. As good as Moody has been, like, he should still get minutes coming off the bench, and you got to get Kuminga out there with Butler. I'm so excited to see that. I just think it has the potential to be explosive, and that I am factoring that in when I say I have them top 5 to win a title. Now, somebody pointed out in the comment section, and I wouldn't disagree, and maybe I should say top 6, because I'd put them and the Lakers in that 5th spot, more or less. And the Lakers are the team I'd probably be least excited to see in the playoffs. That being said,
pretty good.
Well, yeah, but also, part of that was Anthony Davis, right? Part of that was the combination of Anthony Davis and LeBron and the size that the Lakers could go with. But, that's a tough matchup for them. That being said, like, clearly there's the two teams in the East, Boston and Cleveland, that have been so good all year long, you have to put them above the Warriors. There are two teams in the West, in the Thunder and the Nuggets, who I think
I like the Warriors better than the Knicks. I like them better than the Knicks odds.
I do too. I would imagine Memphis has better odds than the Warriors, but I would take the Warriors to beat Memphis in a 7-game series, if healthy. And I am projecting like that Kuminga coming back works, that this all works together. That has to happen. But if it does, to your point, they go 8, 9, 10 deep very easily. They have absolutely the necessary top heaviness with Butler here now. Look, the Thunder are the best team on paper. The Celtics are the defending champs, and the Cavs have absolutely kicked everybody's butt this year, including the Warriors. But after that, they're right in the conversation for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not at this point, man. There's not a ton of holes to their game, especially when they're dishing out 40 assists. The secret sauce is 30. The secret sauce to winning by 36 points is 40 assists in a basketball game. 49% from the floor, 35% from deep, 15 of 42. So the 25, the 27 3-point barrages that we saw in the beginning of the season, we haven't seen as many of those, but they're finding different ways to win, right? They're attacking the basket more. They've been pretty good on the glass for the most part. They've been protecting the basketball. 11 turnovers in the game today. That's been such a kryptonite of this brand of Warriors basketball in general. You can go back before. And to me, it's just the emergence. This team's going to go as far as guys like Moody, Podziemski, and Kuminga take them. Now, they need Curry consistently in the playoffs. We know he's going to go off in at least 4 of those 7 in a 7-game series. It's just what he does. He's not going to have many bad games in a row. But Moody, Podziemski, Kuminga, those three, if they continue to rise their game, then you have that tier 2 where you have the clear tier 1 with Draymond, with Jimmy, with Steph. And then it's like 1B, I guess, tier 1B with Jonathan Kuminga. And then tier 2, it's Podziemski and Moody. And right now, Kuminga's trending, or Podziemski's trending up to Kuminga's spot at 1B. Like he's been great, man. His defense is really good.
If Kuminga comes back and looks like the guy he was in the few weeks before he got hurt, and it doesn't even have to be with that much scoring, right? But just that determination to attack the rim, that commitment on defense. Again, you know, to the people who say we've been doing this all year, that's not true. We did this at the beginning of the year, and I think they justified it. They did beat some good teams. And then things fell apart. There were injuries. There were a variety of issues. We certainly were not saying. We were saying things like they've got to make a trade just to shake things up because this thing is dead in the water. That's the sort of stuff we were saying when they were
We were
playing
throwing
that
around
way.
Valanciunas' name. Valanciunas was brought up
Well-
on the show. We shut it down quickly after we saw him play, and he looked like a lumberjack. But
Yeah. You may have thrown around Valanciunas' name. Anyway, they look like a different team because they are a different team right now. They are a different team right now. And part of what was encouraging about tonight, and again, yes, Charlotte stinks, but the Warriors were not shooting well. And over the course of this year, when they're not shooting well, they've let bad teams hang around over and over again. And
Amen.
then to mess it up even further, they've kicked those games away down the stretch with bad mistakes. So this is different. And the fact that they did it by just absolutely suffocating Charlotte with defense on a night when they weren't shooting it great. And then look, later you start to get a little hot. Charlotte rolls over and you win by 35. But they grabbed a hold of this game by just locking up the Charlotte Hornets. And yes, that's a relatively easy thing to do, but you still have to go and do it. And
yeah,
the way they're playing right now it's super encouraging.
be inspired. Yeah, be inspired, everyone. Why not? We believe.
Yeah.
A couple things. This was one of the, again, yes, part two. A couple things. End of the game, Quinton Post getting tossed. I was setting up the studio, so I didn't even get the chance to see it. You were giving me kind of the, you know, the Kevin Harlan play-by-play of what happened. I want to hear a little bit about that. Yeah, so let's and then I guess the other thing would be, this is one of those games, to describe it to those that turned on Lakers Mavericks or were watching their shows on Netflix, whatever it may be. This is one of those games where I literally think you could have thrown out a lineup of Buddy Hield, Brandin Podziemski. Let's give us no, we need some size. Let's give us Kevon Looney, Buddy Hield, Brandin Podziemski, Kevon Looney, Matt Kolsky, Charlie Walter, and we could have won that basketball game. I think we could have played on the floor for an entire quarter, and that 36-point lead, whatever it was, would have been safe. I think this is one of those games.
I don't know.
Bring
maybe
a fan onto the court night, man.
Maybe if you get me 8 or 9 years ago, it's not pretty.
It's a lot of points. Possessions-wise, it almost becomes impossible.
Yeah, no, I see your point. It's a bit of a math problem for the Hornets at that point, but man, don't underestimate my ability to, first of all, injure myself, and second of all, give away buckets.
That's cool. If you get injured,
43.
we'll bring Payton back in, so it's not all bad.
Yeah, that's probably the best case scenario for everybody. But no, it was a terrible Hornets team. I mean, just terrible. Miles Bridges is the best player on the floor, and although he's had his moments as a basketball player, I never like to see him succeed for reasons. And the rest of it is, largely borderline NBA players and rookies. So tough spot for the Hornets. LaMelo's not playing back-to-backs right now. And Warriors fans, on one hand, got the short end of that stick because he is a delight to watch play. But it made this game a real walkover.
All right, coming up, let's talk about Brandin Podziemski, a little deep dive. I got some good nuggets to give you folks, and we're also taking a look at the schedule. It is easy. We love nuggets, chicken nuggets, just not the Denver Nuggets, especially if that 6-3 matchup happens. No Denver Nuggets. Aside from that, we do appreciate nuggets, which are coming up along with the schedule. Locked on Warriors.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All right, let's tell you about our friends over at DoorDash. If you have not been using DoorDash, then get ready, NBA fans, because they swoosh and you save thanks to Dash Pass. Every time a player drops 50 or more, you score a huge deal the next day. Now, I know the Warriors haven't had a player drop 50 or more in a while now, but it is simple. Any player in the NBA drops 50 or more during this regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. And let's face it, Everyone needs food. It's nourishment, whether it's a game day feast where you're a glutton, whether it's late night cravings because we get the munchies, whether it's lunch on the go because you don't have time, or whether it's fueling your watch party because you like to have fun. DoorDash is there for you. Sign up for Dash Pass and get ready to save. Any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after any 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
Who could stop Brandin Podziemski right now? The double-digit machine, it seems like. So here's the general stats from Podziemski since he returned back to action about a month ago. And granted, he got off to a pretty brutal start to the season. The shooting numbers were extremely bad, but overall, even the other parts of his game, I feel like the shooting and the sophomore slump, it's real. The confidence maybe got into a little the way he was playing all around. It wasn't nearly as good as the way that he finished his all rookie season, but he was all right. He was still doing the little things well, and that's what Brandin Podziemski does. But since he returned, he's been doing the big things well for now a month's sample size. He's averaging 15 a game, 5.5 rebounds, 4 assists, over a steal, 47% from the floor, 36% from deep. He's a team high plus 128. Among all sophomore players, he now ranks 4th in points per game, 5th in rebounds per game, 4th in assists per game, 5th in steals per game, 4th in three-pointers made. He's the only sophomore to be top 5 in each of those categories. Since his return, he leads all sophomores in plus minus, also 8th in the entire NBA. He's 1st in plus minus among all Warriors on the season as a whole, and the only NBA players ahead of him are from it's Dorian Finney-Smith and from the Cavs and Thunder teams on the plus minus. So Brandin Podziemski, say whatever you want about him. There was a moment in the season where there were commenters popping up on this show that said, send Podziemski down to Santa Cruz to find his shooting stroke. And it's been a long season. I may have confirmed that and said, maybe you do it. Give him an Airbnb, hit up the boardwalk. It'll be all okay. But since he's returned, man, I think Podziemski's showing me what I saw this summer and what I thought him to be. He's a confident, aggressive, very well-rounded player that makes any team he's on better.
Yeah, and tonight was a night he didn't hit a single three-pointer, and he didn't let that take over his night. I mean, I think that's what was disturbing about earlier in the season. It was a particularly bad slump, but sophomores go on shooting slumps. He was never really like a, elite three-point shooter over the course of his career. He's a good shooter who took good shots last year, and that's why he had a good percentage.
Numbers-wise, say he's elite, man. And I know the numbers can lie from time to time. Are you someone that can create your own three? Or are you someone that's just stand still knocking them down? But I mean, through a sample size of now, 3 seasons dating back to Santa Cruz, like he's hovering around 40%. Like that's pretty damn good.
2 seasons. This is his second season.
Well, last year he was 38, and it's Santa Clara. Excuse me, Santa Clara. I was just talking about the boardwalk. Excuse me, Santa Clara. On the bubble right now. He was like 42%, I think, in college.
Not in college. 1 year. He's again, like he's a capable shooter, but he didn't come in as like a Klay Thompson or even a Seth Curry for that matter. Like he came in as a guy who could help your team in a lot of different ways, which is primarily what he's been. And I think over the summer, and I would argue the Warriors themselves are to blame for this, he got it in his head that he was going to be shooting 8 threes a game and hitting them at a 40% rate and scoring 20, right? But that was their idea. That was the Warriors' idea, and it didn't work. And when he was in such a horrible slump, you could see it did start to affect the rest of his game. I think it had as much to do with that busted face and the mask, and then he kept getting hit in the nose. Like it was just a bummer of a start to the year. But I think some time off helped. I don't know that sending him to Santa Cruz was actually the craziest idea. As it turned out, he got a little banged up, sat out for a while, and came back seemingly having reset and restored the confidence that led him to such a great rookie year.
Quinton Post had to hit the showers before this game was over, although they probably caught up with him
early.
They probably caught up with him in the tunnel by the time he was trudging back there. You said he was pretty pissed. Give me the rundown on the Quinton Post ejection that I didn't get to see real time.
No, he was just feisty all night. He's a feisty guy. And I think once the lead was 30 and he was playing the whole fourth quarter, the Hornets were a little upset, and Quinton Post was not interested in letting them have their emotions. He stood his ground on several occasions, had a couple little dust-ups, and eventually got tossed. I don't make much of it, but I say good for the rookie for, being feisty. I love a feisty rookie.
Knowing you belong, man. It's big. Schedule coming up. A lot of road games when you go down this list. They got 5 in a row coming up. Orlando, at Philly, at Charlotte. Those are 3 teams you've beaten this season. That would extend a win streak to 7 games. And at that point, you would likely think that the Warriors are in the playoffs if the season were to end that day, depending on the opposition. But you would think so. Then it's at New York. That's a tough game. At Brooklyn, a game you lost, but extremely winnable. Detroit, Portland, Sacramento. I mean, it gets harder after that with New York, Denver, Milwaukee, and then the list goes on and on of tough teams down the stretch of the season before finishing with San Antonio, Portland, LA, Phoenix, the final 4 games of the season, and the reeling Rockets. I mean, hell, I'm going down this list. The elite teams, they're gone. Like, if you want to call Denver elite, okay. Aside from that, New York elite, okay. Memphis elite, okay. Lakers, they're on the rise. Those are the only 4 teams, and none of them the elite of the NBA, at least we think.
The 3 truly elite teams,
you've played them, and you've beat some
back,
of them, except for Cleveland.
Right. Boston, Cleveland, OKC, they're not on the schedule anymore unless you see them in the playoffs. So that's good. The Warriors have a relatively easy strength of schedule, and the way they're playing, the road is lined up for them to get themselves a legitimate playoff seed. That's what I would bet on happening if you made me bet right now. And I'll tell you, you put this group in the playoffs, and I am not ruling anything out.
It's exactly what we said in 21-22, right? It was the Warriors. If they were taking 2 steps forward, a step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. They were just kind of tap dancing all season long. Curry gets hurt. He gets ample rest time. Let's not forget about that. And I think the role players had really stepped up. Everyone, I mean, not role players, NBA champions and all-stars, but everyone else had really stepped up. And I think they went into the playoffs with like a 5-game win streak, right? Granted, against some bad teams, but I'm pretty sure they finished the season real strong. Curry hops back in, and they didn't miss a beat. I mean, a lot of the NBA, Draymond Green said it, it's not always the best team that wins. It's the team that knows how to navigate this all, right? There's so many layers that go into an NBA season and a postseason, which is essentially a season of itself. The Warriors have guys that know how to do it, and even someone that doesn't know how to win it technically in Jimmy Butler, he knows how to get you there. And then the other guys can tell him how to win an NBA championship. It's the Magic on Thursday. Any final thoughts for you on the way out the door?
Bit of a trap game against the Magic. Bob and Kalena kept mentioning it. They got killed, and they're going to be ready for that game on Thursday. So go ahead and get the road trip off to a good start. I think that's a really big game because, as you just laid out, the next couple after it should be much easier. Get that first win, and you should be headed downhill.
NBA buyout market. We got until the 1st of March. Anything going to happen there on the Warriors front, or is this the team we're looking at? Deep enough?
No, not worth it. Nobody who would play. They signed Quinton Post. They've given 10 days to Knox and Collins. I expect, if anybody gets signed, it'll be one of their guys.
And Knox has looked really good, man. I don't want to spend an entire show on someone that's playing in slop time, but hey, you do what you can do in the minutes that you've been given. He's been knocking down shots. I told you, man, he can yam. He's not the most laterally quick human being in the world. He's not quick, but he is athletic. I said it's not going to make sense. Just watch him and you'll know what I'm talking about. And that's all I got to say. Very long, by the way. The show was long, so we got to go. Matt Kolsky, Chuck Walter, this is Locked On Warriors. Peace.
Great length. Tremendous length.